name is Laura McCrum, and this is my persuasive speech for Communications 111. The question is, will you be celebrating Columbus Day next year? What do you know about Columbus Day? When you think of Columbus, do you think of a great, wondrous explorer who discovered America? Do you think of the phrase, Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492? These are things that I used to think of too, because this is what I was taught during elementary school. What I know now is that Columbus did not, in fact, discover America. His navigating skills were not that great. He treated the natives terribly, and we are celebrating Columbus Day all wrong. The great ordeal that Columbus Day should be is being represented completely wrong. We are celebrating Columbus Day because of the great explorer he was. President George Bush had said in a press release, "We were celebrating because of his bold expedition and pioneering achievements." But Columbus himself even said, "I ought to be judged as a captain who for such a long time up to this day has borne arms without laying them aside for an hour." To judge Columbus correctly, I will start by giving you some background information. Spain had just unified itself and was in the hope of gaining wealth. Columbus was determined to find a route directly from Spain to Asia. With the help of Ferdinand and Isabella, he was able to make 4 voyages to hopefully find this path. This was after asking multiple people if they would help him, but they all told him that he had miscalculated and that he would not be able to reach Asia in that amount of time. The Queen and King agreed to help Columbus if he succeeded and brought gold and spices back to them. He would receive many treasures if he had succeeded. Some things he would get would be to be knighted, appointed Admiral of the Ocean Sea, made the Viceroy of any new lands, and awarded 10% of any new wealth. This was according to the Library of Congress. So Columbus and the 1,500 men given to him by the Queen and the King set out in search of land. They were out on the sea for what seemed like forever, and his men were becoming relentless. Some of his men are recorded as contemplating throwing him overboard. But on October 12th, after Columbus told his men that they would get a silk coat along with a yearly $10,000 pension, a sailor named Rodrigo was the first to sight land. But Columbus took credit anyway from him, and Columbus received the money instead of Rodrigo. Even before they arrived there, about 500 years before, Leif Erikson had already arrived there and discovered America. George Bush said that we're celebrating Columbus for his great navigational skills, but Columbus already knew the Earth was round, and even with all of this knowledge, he couldn't come close to calculating how long it would take him to reach Asia. When they arrived on the land, they met the Arawak Indians, also known as the Taínos or the Lucayans. The Indians swam out to their ships to greet them into their land, just as if they were friends. Even though Columbus and his men were foreign to them and had weapons when they had no such things, they brought them gifts and were willing to give them anything they had. They are the best people in the world, and above all the gentlest, without knowledge of what is evil, nor do they murder or steal. They love their neighbors as themselves, and they have the sweetest talk in the world, always laughing. This is something that Columbus himself wrote in a journal he kept. One example of their kindness was that soon after Columbus had arrived to the land, his ship became wrecked, and the natives all swam out to the ship and they fixed it for him, just out of kindness, not asking anything in return. Columbus was obsessed with gold and wealth, and in the first 2 weeks of his journaling, his want for gold was mentioned 75 times. His obsession led to the mutilation of an entire tribe of people. A quote by Columbus referring to the natives was that they are very simple and honest honest and exceedingly liberal with all they have, none of them refusing anything he may possess when he is asked for it. They exhibit a great love towards all others in preference to themselves. Columbus goes on to write, they would make fine servants. With 50 men, we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want. And as soon as Columbus noticed the natives had gold earrings, that's exactly what they did, enslaving all of them. He took some back to Spain with him as slaves, but only 7 survived the journey because of the horrible mistreatment towards them. They also gave them blankets that were diseased, which made many of the natives very sick, and most of them died from this. When he made his next voyage back from Spain with the natives again at Hispaniola, his true colors began to show again. The natives were ordered to find a certain amount of gold every week, and if they did not meet the standards, he would have one of their hands cut off. But the standards were unrealistic because there wasn't as much gold as Columbus thought. So many natives had their hands cut off. Afterwards, as punishment, they had to wear the hand around their neck until they bled to death. The women were also enslaved too, but they were enslaved as sex slaves for his men. Those who tried to escape were hunted down and eaten by the Spanish war dogs. On a few accounts, children were even fed to the war dogs for fun. A solution for the Columbus Day epidemic is already in place, but very little action is being done. According to thinkprogress.org, since 1954, when Indigenous Peoples Day became a possibility, a day to, instead of recognizing Columbus as a great man and turn a blind eye to his failures and his launch of a genocide, but to recognize the Native American histories, and to celebrate not Columbus, but how we've all come together since then and celebrate the discovery of our world, but not the selfish man who discovered it. Today, only 9 cities in the US have made the choice to abolish Columbus Day. Nobody wants to celebrate a man who committed a mass genocide or accidentally stumbled upon America and claimed full credit for it. When people celebrate Columbus Day, they aren't celebrating this anyways, so why should we leave it with this title? Why should we pretend that the things he did didn't really happen? We shouldn't glorify his accidents and leave everything else out just because we want a hero to look up to. Instead, next year, let's celebrate something greater, the fact that we don't have to live blindly and with naivety, that we all can make a difference. So I encourage everyone to spread the word, make a personal declaration with your family, use your social media. However it happens, make a choice. Next year, on October 10th, 2016, celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day instead.